Welcome to episode 28 of A to Z Sports Talk. It is Wednesday, June 14th. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it's just me today. Zach is in the middle of his move to Florida, and Conlon is out of town as well. I'm very excited for this episode, though. I have my list of the top 10 relief pitchers, as well as some other MLB news, which includes the almost no-hitter by Miles Michaelis last night. It's still bothering me this morning. I also have my NHL Stanley Cup final predictions. That begins tonight. And I have my predictions for Game 6 of the NBA Finals. To finish up, it's time to move on to the NFC West, and the Los Angeles Rams are next. I hope everybody's doing great. Hump day today, but it's always kind of little weird and different doing it by myself, but I look forward to it and spreading some news that's happened in the sports world. So I do want to start with my top 10 relief pitchers. It was supposed to be starting pitchers today, but starting pitching is such a controversial thing because there's so many good pitchers. So even this list is tough. Every list has really been tough, but starting pitchers I really want to do with all of us. Same thing with the NFL segment today. It was supposed to be the Seahawks, but I'm sure Zach and Colin will want to give me trouble about the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm going to do the Rams today. But let's start off with the top 10 relief pitchers. I have quite a few honorable mentions, actually. Let's start with the Arizona Diamondbacks closer, Mark Malanson. Doesn't have overpowering stuff, but locates really well, deceives hitters really well. He didn't crack the top 10 for me. He's also getting older. ERA is high this year. Has missed some time with injuries, but he's always in the top 15 closing, or obviously top 10 closers, but top 15 relievers every year. Another honorable mention was the St. Louis Cardinals relief pitcher Ryan Helsley. He's been closing out games a little more lately, kind of splitting time with Gio Gallegos, but Helsley this year has easily been a top 5 reliever. He's got like a .3 ERA, just blowing heat by hitters. So I feel confident in his ability to be a top 10 moving forward. Taylor Rogers was another honorable mention. I had a hard time leaving him off the list. Has got 19 saves this year, which is the second most in baseball. But moving from Minnesota to San Diego, I thought he might struggle a little bit, but he's been absolutely fantastic for them. Rysel Iglesias of the Los Angeles Angels also did not crack my top 10. He's having a really rough year, and really it's just a couple bad games. And with relief pitchers, it could be 1 or 2 games of a terrible outing where you give up 4 or 5 and your ERA is blown for the next month and a half. So he's one of those guys that has had that happen. Clay Holmes, I left him off my list for the New York Yankees. Again, this year, easily a top 5 reliever. And with Chapman struggling, he's been closing out more games. But he's got like a .3 ERA also and a crazy K per 9. So if he continues this, he can easily be top 10 moving forward. And then I had to mention Aroldis Chapman. Chapman's not the same guy as he was, but every time I see him, I'm still kind of intimidated, even as a fan watching. So I left him off my list. But my number 10 was Jordan Romano of the Toronto Blue Jays, having a tremendous season. A little rocky lately, but up to these last couple games he's been tremendous. He's got a 2.82 ERA, a 1.16 WHIP, 16 saves this year. And then 22 and a third inning, has 26 strikeouts. So doesn't have the resume, as you're going to see in my list. I have a couple guys that maybe aren't playing as well this year, but the resume says different. And Romano's only played a couple of years, but I think he's going to be a top 5 reliever if he continues this. He is 27, 28, so he's not a super young guy at the beginning of his career here, but I have high expectations for Romano moving forward. My number 9 was the Brewers setup guy, Devin Williams. If he was on any other team, he'd be a closer. This year, 2.63 ERA. I mentioned before with Iglesias how it takes 1 or 2 games to really blow up your ERA. His ERA was like at 4 or 5 just because of a couple games at the beginning. He has been lights out since. But he's got, like I said, 2.63 ERA, 1.17 WHIP, 4 saves, 24 innings pitched, and 39 strikeouts. Absolutely filthy stuff. He's a St. Louis guy as well, so repping the 314. But number 8 on my list was Craig Kimbrell. Now Kimbrell this year, not as dominant as past years. .419 ERA, 145 WHIP, which is eh. It's 12 saves, 19 and a third innings pitched, 29 strikeouts. He's another guy, though. The resume of Craig Kimbrell is going to be a Hall of Famer. So I had a hard time, when I was making this list, leaving him off it because I think he's going to be able to turn around for LA and be a lights out closer for them in the postseason, which they've had Kenley Janssen for so long and aren't really taking a step back with Craig in there. Even at Craig's age, getting older, he's still dominant. My number 7. I love this guy. And as a Cardinals fan, I know it's in the division, I would love for the Cardinals to go make a move for him. The closer for the Pittsburgh Pirates, David Bednar. Now, he's not a household name, young guy, but oh my goodness, he's lights out. 1.24 ERA, an 0.79 WHIP, 10 saves this year, 29 innings pitched, and 38 strikeouts. He's been unbelievable. He's done this for the last couple years now. And he's going to be whoever gets him at the deadline is going to have a tremendous upgrade in the back end of their bullpen. He is absolutely unbelievable. Number 6 on my list was Ryan Presley of the Houston Astros. He's done, nobody really hears about him. He has done this for 10 years now of an ERA under 3. He's just been dominant. 2.70 ERA, 1.20 WHIP this year, which is not his best, but still above average. 12 saves, 16 and 2/3 innings. He's been injured a little bit, and then 12 strikeouts. But he's got a mid-90s fastball, a tremendous slider that he actually ramps up there even to 90 miles per hour. So Ryan Presley is the closer for the Astros, a tremendous Astros team like they have been the last 6 or 7 years. So he's number 6 on my list. Number 5, I had Edwin Diaz, the closer of the New York Mets. He had one rocky year in his last 5 years. Besides that, he's been a top 5 closer in baseball. This year, lights out. 2.13 ERA, 1.06 WHIP, 12 saves, 25 innings pitched, and get this, 48 strikeouts in that 25 and a third innings pitched. It's just insane lights out stuff. His WHIP is 106, which is good. It's usually higher than that. He's very erratic and he walks a lot of people. You can't line up his baseball though. It moves so much and he's got such tremendous ride on his fastball. It's really hard to make a lot of contact with him. If he can cut down the walks, he's a top 3 closer in baseball. He's that electric out of the bullpen, has really helped that Mets team who is really, I don't want to say, I guess they're overperforming a little bit expectations. They're playing really well, first in the NL East, and he has a lot to do with that. My number 4 was Kenley Janssen of now the Atlanta Braves. He was the Dodgers closer for the last 10, 11 years, was dominant for 10 or 11 years. And the ERA is not his normal this year, but still dominant. 3.25 ERA, an 0.90 WHIP, which is ridiculous. 18 saves, 27 and 2/3, and 38 strikeouts. Still intimidating. Doesn't bring the heat as much as he did. But he's electric and really throws his cutter I think it was 70% of the time. But he moves it around and locates it in different spots and mixes up his delivery. Sometimes he puts his hands up, sometimes he just keeps them down, and it just always messes with the hitter. And if you see different guys, a starting pitcher for 6 innings, a couple relievers, then you see this guy, it just throws off your whole rhythm. So still dominant even as he's getting up there in age. He was number 4 on my list. Number 3, I had Emmanuel Clase of the Cleveland Guardians. 1.78 ERA, an 0.83 WHIP, 12 saves, and 25 innings pitched. He has 29 strikeouts. I'm surprised the strikeouts aren't even more, honestly, because this guy has insane stuff. 102 on his sinker and cutter. Just mixes it. Has that sinker right and away from lefties. Has that cutter going into lefties. He'll throw that cutter more of a slider, take a little bit off of it and move it away from righties. He'll take that sinker that's at 101, 102 and ride it in on righties. Gets a lot of ground balls with it. Really hard. It's kind of like Jordan Hicks stuff. It's really hard to level it up and get a good swing on it. He's got tremendous stuff and very young too. I think he was 25 or 26. So definitely has the potential to be even a top 2, maybe even number 1 reliever if he keeps this up and stays healthy. And I'm going to get into the Guardians in a little bit. They're playing really good baseball, which is surprising to me. I don't know if it's surprising to a lot of people, but really surprising to me, and he has a lot to do with that. My number 2 was the crazy Australian Liam Hendriks. This year, he was actually just put on the IL, but this year, 2.81 ERA, a 1.13 WHIP, 16 saves for the White Sox, 25 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 37 strikeouts. And my goodness, does that man bring some energy on the mound? He's always fired up. He's always yelling. Not even just at the other team. It's like yelling at himself, getting himself fired up. And, he's one of those guys that might rub you the wrong way, but if he was on your team, you'd love the heck out of him. So Liam Hendriks was number 2 on my list. And the number 1 on my list, I'm sad to put him there as a Cardinals fan. I'm not a big fan of him, but you can't ignore what he's doing over there in Milwaukee. Josh Hader, an 0.92 ERA, an 0.61 WHIP, 19 saves, 19 and 2/3 innings pitched with 33 strikeouts. He's been doing this for the last few years. And with Devin Williams and Josh Hader in your 8th and 9th inning, and they have Boxberger in the 7th, they have a couple other relievers that can throw in there too. So their bullpen is easily their strong point there in Milwaukee. Their starting pitching is great also. Their offense is what is really hurting them, especially with some starting pitching injuries happening right now. But Josh Hader is absolutely filthy, has an unorthodox delivery, so it's hard to pick it up. And then before you know it, 97, 98's blown right past you. And even until, I guess this year, his velocity is even down a little bit. But he can locate so well. And even at 94, 95, he locates it so high in the zone, maybe even sometimes out of the zone. And hitters at the eyesight, it looks like it's hittable. And then before you know it, it's right by you. You can't level it up. So he did blow a save recently. Before that, his ERA was like 0.2 or something ridiculous. I mean, he's just insane what he's doing there in Milwaukee. But next episode's on Saturday. I will have my top 10 DH, and then next week we have starting pitchers, and that's going to wrap up our list. But let's move around the league with let's start with the Cardinals update of the week. They won 2 of 3 versus the Reds. Zach Conlon and I were actually at the Saturday afternoon game, and we looked kind of dead. They had Hunter Green going for the Reds, who's I've mentioned before, they're a phenom over there. Really high expectations for him. He's going to be a superstar. Number 1 overall pick. But in the 9th inning, the Reds do have the last place bullpen in the league. And it showed Tommy Edman with a walk-off homer, and that came out of nowhere. Off the bat, we were like, oh, that might hit the gap. Oh, that might hit, over the right fielder's head. I personally thought it was a fly out to right. And that summer heat here in St. Louis, if you're listening here in the Midwest area, the heat's ridiculously hot right now, and the ball just carried off the bat. But yeah, it was great to have that. Tommy Edman, another thing on him, he leads the MLB in WAR, not the National League, not second baseman. He leads all of baseball, which has got over names like Aaron Judge, Bryce Harper, Mookie Betts, Goldie. Ridiculous that he's doing this, and he's looking more and more like he's going to be an all-star. And I'll get into why he needs to be in a little bit with some other names, maybe not being healthy. And then we have a 4-game set that we're in the middle of right now versus the Pirates. We've won the first 3. I don't even want to get into Michaelis. I mentioned in the intro, he was 1 strike away from a no-hitter last night. And the ball was hit. They had the outfielders playing in a little bit. It just got over Bader's head. Really tough way to lose that no-hitter. But he was unbelievable. Saved the bullpen, which we needed in that doubleheader. Tonight, we have Jack Flaherty back in the rotation. He's only supposed to go 60 pitches, so that's why it's great that the bullpen's rested. I know the big 3 all pitched yesterday, Gallegos, Helsley, and Cabrera. But you're going to have Flaherty hopefully for 4 or 5 innings tonight. That would be tremendous. And then hand it over to the bullpen. Hopefully we can get a sweep tonight. We got Thursday off, and then we go to Boston for 3. Not very often that we get to play against the Red Sox in Boston, let alone the Red Sox playing against us in general. But in Boston, that's going to be really cool. If this is Wainwright's last year, he does get to pitch in Boston. There's something special about that place. I'm not a Boston fan, but they got the history there, and it's always cool, watching the Cardinals play there. Um, I will say our top three guys. I mean, they've been kind of mixing with the lineup a little bit, especially with a couple of double headers we've had recently. Ollie's been switching it up, but Tommy Edmonds been the staple at the top of the order. Donovan was in the 2-hole last night, and then Goldie as the 3. Those 3 guys are insane. Tommy Edman, I mentioned it just a few seconds ago. I'm very confident he will be the starting second baseman in the All-Star game. Unless it's like Jazz Chisholm, because I was going to get into it later, but I'm just going to say it now. Ozzie Albies is out for the next – he's on the 60-day IL. So he might get the votes, but he's not playing in the All-Star game. So it's really – unless I'm missing some names here, it's Jazz Chisholm and Tommy Edman. And I think Jazz might get it. He's flashy. He's got the stats for sure. But what Tommy does is just ridiculous. And he's looking more and more. He's going to be an all-star. He has to be. So hopefully we get all his votes in. He gets there. But Brennan Donovan is a guy. He's just stealing that second base spot. And Paul DeYoung's been hitting really well, actually, in AAA. Has 9 home runs in his last 12 games. But we have no spot for him now. Even if he's hitting well, Brennan Donovan is just one of those guys. He's wherever you throw it, he's gonna hit it that way. If you throw him outside, he's gonna drive it to left. If you throw him inside, he's gonna turn on it and get it to right field. If you're gonna pitch him up, he's gonna drive it to center. If you're gonna pitch him down, he's gonna drive it up the middle. He's just such a smart hitter. Very hustles hard, plays every position you can imagine. So just a tremendous guy to have. Goes really deep into counts. I think since he's come up, he's seen the most or maybe second most pitches per at bat, which is incredible. And then do I have to say anything about Paul Goldschmidt right now that people don't know? I mean, are you serious right now? 16 homers and 55 RBIs already. He's batting .348. He's the MVP. Hopefully he can keep this up. He usually starts slow and gets hot as the season goes. He's been hot since, early May. So hopefully he can keep this up, win an MVP. That would be tremendous. We haven't had an MVP since Albert Pujols in 2009, I believe. I think that's right. So hopefully we have our first MVP since then. Steven Matz and Jordan Hicks, I want to give an update on them. Jordan Hicks is very close, apparently. Next weekend, he's supposed to be going on a rehab assignment, and then he'll be back. I don't know if he's going to be a starter, though. I think I would put him in the bullpen, especially with how Palante is pitching. And you get Flaherty back. And if you have Flaherty, Wainwright, Michaelis, Hudson, and Palante, that's really solid. And then you have Matz in the mix, too. I would put Hicks in the bullpen, even though it might mess with his schedule a little bit. I know for him, the ultimate thing is health. And then Steven Matz apparently had an injection in his arm yesterday, but he's relatively close. So I don't know where he's going to fit in the mix either. Definitely, I would trust him over Palante, even though Palante's been ridiculously good. Palante can stretch out innings out of the bullpen, which you love to have. And so I would probably put Matz in there at that 5th starter spot, and then have Hicks. If you have Palante, Hicks, Cabrera, Helsley, and Gallegos in the bullpen, that's 5 tremendous arms. And then I know the guys, Zach and Conlon, have been giving me trouble. I'm high on Verhagen. I like Verhagen. He's had a couple bad outings, but he could be in there. I'd love to see TJ McFarland get back to a little bit more of what he was doing last year. I don't think he's going to be what he was last year. Dude had a 1.5 ERA, but if he can get more ground balls, he pitched really well. I think it was yesterday in the first game of the doubleheader against the Pirates. So hopefully we see more of that. He's starting to get more ground balls, keep the ball down in the zone. Has a little room for air, but if he can keep it down in the zone, he's tremendous. And then let's move on to some other stuff around the league that's happening right now. I wrote down a few things here. I mentioned it earlier how the Cleveland Guardians are a major surprise. They're 30-27, and their pitching's been really solid. Zach Plesac over there, Tristan McKenzie has been really, really good. And then they have an MVP candidate in Jose Ramirez. So he's been really carrying that offense. They do have, I think it's Josh or James Naylor. I think it's Josh at first base. He's been hitting really well as well. So other stuff from the American League, the Yankees keep it up. They're insane right now. 45-16. Aaron Judge is the lead MVP candidate over there. 24 homers, 318 average, an OPS over 1 or 1,000, I guess. He's been incredible. The White Sox got Lance Lynn back, which will really help them. I think he went 4 1/3. I think gave up 2 or 3 the other night. But he got into it with I think it was their third base coach, maybe first base coach, might have been a bench coach. I don't remember. It was one of their like backup side coaches, whatever you want to call them. And it was really funny at the end. He talked about the altercation. He said they were arguing about meat and how he's more of, I think he said he's more of a filet guy or a sirloin guy, and he said his coach was more of a filet or the other one. So I thought it was kind of funny. He kind of brushed it off. But the White Sox have been just full with injuries this year and just kind of underperforming, kind of just been a bleh season for the White Sox. So hopefully they can get it going for their sake. And then my last team in the American League I wanted to mention was the Red Sox. And I literally put down the Red Sox mash. There are 3 guys in the middle of the order. I'm really high on what we got over here, especially when we're clicking with O'Neill, Goldie, and Arenado. But that Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, and JD Martinez all batting over 310. Whew. That's really tough for a pitcher, and it's going to be really tough for the Cardinals coming up here this weekend. In the National League, the Atlanta Braves have won 13 straight games. I mentioned earlier, though, Ozzie Albies broke his foot. No contact. He kind of was jammed on a pitch and kind of, I guess, twisted wrong and just broke his foot stepping out of the box. So that's going to hurt them. But it sucks if you're a Braves fan because you really want to see Ozzie and Acuna play together. Last year, obviously, Acuna was out. You still won a World Series. They're definitely a World Series threat again, especially if their pitching continues. Marcell Ozuna's power has been there, not his average as high, but the Braves have won 13 straight games. They're really rolling. The Phillies, I feel like we talk about them just like the Angels every episode, but the Phillies were really high after they fired Girardi, and they keep losing these tough games where they're up by 3 or 4 runs and their bullpen blows it. I know it's a tough division that you're in. They lost to the Marlins last night. They were up by 4 runs at one point, lost the lead. It was tied. Then they got it back, and then they lost it, and then they lost. I mean, it was tied again. Then they lost the game. It was just their bullpen needs a lot of help. And then that tough division with the Braves really playing well now, the Mets playing well. It's going to be hard if they keep coughing up games like this. It's going to be hard for them to catch up. I know there's 3 wild card teams this year. That's given a lot of teams hope, but it's going to be really hard for the Phillies if they keep losing these tough games that you should be winning against the Marlins and Nationals, stuff like that. I did want to mention the Cardinals again here. We're in a really good spot. We're in a weak division. The Pirates have lost 9 straight. The Cubs have lost 8 straight. The Reds have obviously been really poor this year. And the Brewers are really struggling. They finally won a game, ending their, I think it was 7-game losing streak, but they're really struggling. And, you know, with Woodruff being out and Freddie Peralta being out, that's 2 of their main 3 starters. They're depending a lot on Corbin Burns and Hauser to come up big. Eric Lauer was their, 5th starter, I guess. He was really, really good to begin the year. He gave up 9 the other night. He's been struggling more. And their offense is not good. I mean, I've been saying this, and I don't want to, toot my own horn here, but their offense has really struggled, and it's not a surprise to me at all. They're just not a strong offensive team. They depend a lot on good pitching, like I said. Tremendous bullpen still, but it's hard when your starting pitching struggles. They don't have the offense to stay in these games, so it's tough right now if you're a Brewers fan. But as a Cardinals fan, I really like where we're at. Now 2.5 above the Brewers, first in the division, so I'm really liking that. But in the NL West, the Giants are back on track. They've won 5 straight games. They've been kind of sputtering a little bit. And then the Dodgers are obviously great, but a surprise for them is Tony Gonzalen. he's got to be the Cy Young in the National League, which I never would have thought I'd be saying that. But he's 8-0 with a 1.48 ERA and a .80 WHIP. So Tony Gonzalen has been absolutely tremendous for them, and he's usually their fifth, maybe even sixth starter if they're all healthy usually. But he's moving up there, and definitely got to be in the Cy Young conversation in the National League. Let's move on to some NHL talk here. We are officially in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. The Avalanche will face the Lightning. My prediction, it's really tough. I'm going to go Avalanche in 6 because I feel like it's their time. They have so much talent to constantly be like not getting over that hump and winning at least one Stanley Cup. I think they haven't won since 2002, I believe. So I don't know. I just feel like it's their time. I saw a Lightning team that, yes, they won the last 4 after going down 2-0 against New York, but I saw just a little glimpse of maybe them being tired. Like I've been trying to, they're making me look bad because all postseason I was saying that they're going to run out of steam. They're going to run out of steam, and they just keep blowing by people. And they lost those first 2 in New York, and I was like, I'm finally right. They're losing steam. And then they just wiped out the Rangers and won the next 4. Kind of tearing the Rangers' heart out in a couple of those games, late game goals. So would I be surprised with the Tampa Bay Lightning win their 3rd straight cup? No way. Am I wrong for betting against them? Oh, yeah, probably so. But I see a team in the Avalanche that looks driven. Cale Makar and McKinnon are their leaders, and they've been playing insane the entire playoffs. And again, I feel like the Tampa Bay Lightning will run out of steam. But I will say there's one major difference maker in this whole series. It's Darcy Kuemper, the goalie for the Avalanche. If he stands tall, yesterday I saw an article that he was saying he's on 100% from his injury. So if he stands tall and plays tremendous and just keeps them into games, I know Vasilevsky is the better goaltender by a mile, and he's been there and done that. And again, it's probably wrong for me to bet against Vasilevsky and those boys over there, but if Darcy Kuemper is at his game, is playing on his game, I think the Avalanche have enough scoring that they'll come out on top in 6 games. I am obviously cheering for Tampa. I don't usually like when teams win a few in a row. I like to split it up a little bit, but obviously the Avalanche are not high on my favorite teams list. So definitely cheering for Tampa. But I do say the Avalanche win in 6. It's been a tremendous playoffs, tremendous season. I'm kind of sad that it's coming to an end. I was thinking the other night how I already missed Blues hockey, so I can't wait till October to see that again. But yeah, going to be a tremendous series that starts tonight. Should be legendary series, honestly. A Lightning team trying to win 3 straight cups, which hasn't been done since I think it was the 80s or 90s with the Islanders. They won 4 straight. And then an Avalanche team just trying to get over that hump, like I mentioned. So a lot of storylines to follow in this series, and should be a lot of fun. That begins tonight in Colorado, so should be fun. But let's move on to some NBA here. Game 5 happened the other night. Andrew Wiggins. This is like my headline, I guess. Andrew Wiggins is the series MVP if they can come out in Game 6 or Game 7 with a win. He plays well. He stole Game 5. I think he had 20. It was like high 20s in points. I think he had 15 rebounds. And in a game where Steph was awful, he was still plus 15 on the court. Steph was plus minus. He was plus 15. 7 for 22 from the field and 0 for 9 from 3. And they still win by, I think it was 10 or 12 points. Andrew Wiggins was tremendous. Klay Thompson had 21. He played better. But Andrew Wiggins, that one game, and Andrew Wiggins has been a little inefficient in a couple games, but that one game alone might have gotten him the Finals MVP, especially if he does this in Game 6 or Game 7 and leads them. He definitely has a chance. But on Boston's side, what a wasted opportunity to steal a game and then have a chance to clinch at home on Thursday night, which is tomorrow night. in Boston on your home court. When Steph Curry shoots 7 for 22 and 0 for 9 from 3, you have to find a way to win that game. Like I don't care what it is. I'm not cheering for Boston even. It's frustrating because as a sports fan, I know how that will feel if I was a Boston fan. So for their sake, that's so frustrating. And you just have to win that game. You have to find a way to get it done. They needed more from the role guys. I think Smart had like 10. Horford had 9. Jaylen Brown, who has been tremendous all series. I was hyping him up last episode saying that he's on Jason Tatum's level and he's even better defensively. He was 5 for 18, 0 for 5 from 3, and negative 19 on the court. So he's got to play better. Yeah, I don't know. It's really tough to bounce back in Game 6. With that being said, I do think they'll win in Game 6 because I think the role guys always, not just them, everybody, every team's role guys play better at home. They feed off the energy. I think Smart will have a great game, bring that energy. I think Grant Williams, Al Horfords of the world, those type of guys on that team will play really well. And if you have Jaylen Brown step up and play better than did, Tatum was honestly really good the other night, I thought. But yeah, if you have Jaylen Brown bounce back, they'll have a good chance of winning Game 6. And I do think they'll force Game 7. So I'm confident in them winning Game 6 and forcing Game 7. So we'll see how it goes. I think Zach and I both picked Warriors in 7 to begin the series, and I'm sticking by that. But Game 6 will be really interesting. Can they get it done, the Warriors, or can Boston stay alive and force a Game 7? Should be a lot of fun though. Whew. Okay. Let's finish up with some NFL here. The Los Angeles Rams will be our next team we're talking about. My prediction for the record is 11-6. I think it's going to be a small drop off from last year. They were 12-5, obviously Super Bowl champs. It's going to be a tough division as always. Seahawks, whatever. But the 49ers will be solid. The Cardinals should be good. And I think they'll just all beat up on one another. That's why I don't have them as at that, 13-4, 14-3 crazy, really good record. But I think their team is really good still. And I have a couple questions, though. Like, I guess really just one question. Who is their main running back? Darrell Henderson or Cam Akers? They lost Sony Michel. He went to Miami. Darrell Henderson and, Cam Akers was their really head back. Then he got injured. He came back. He didn't play that well in the playoffs last year. Darrell Henderson, on the other hand, had a tremendous season. So I want to see how they do. They'll probably do a dual running back thing, give them equal carries. But that was kind of one question I had going into this. They signed Allen Robinson from the Bears in the offseason. I think he's going to bounce back so well with Matthew Stafford. Again, cheering against the Rams, not just because they left us here, but they're also one of the rivals for the Seahawks. But Allen Robinson, I think, will play tremendous for them. Just adds another weapon. Going to open up the field for Cooper Kupp. Or on the opposite end, they double Cooper Kupp and it opens up for Allen Robinson. They also have Vance Jefferson too. So that's 3 really good wide receivers, and that's a tough duo or tough trio, I guess, to cover. Allen Robinson, though, was really good and has just not really had that quarterback in Chicago that really would, help drive him. He had Trubisky, he had Justin Fields, and I think Justin Fields will be great, but not last year, Justin Fields. So having a quarterback like Matthew Stafford, now Super Bowl champion Matthew Stafford, and adding Allen Robinson to that mix it's pretty dang tough for defenses to guard. Their offensive line is a little iffy to me. I'm not real high on them, so that's one weakness I think they would have. And then defensively, they are stacked with superstars. So 3 names on they have 6 really, really good defensive players. And here's the first 3. So Taylor Rapp, safety, Troy Hill, cornerback, and Leonard Floyd, a linebacker / defensive end. So those 3, really good. If you just had those 3 on your defense, you'd be really happy with where you're at. But then you get on to Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and then they signed Bobby Wagner from Seattle. So, I mean, good Lord, those are 3 Hall of Famers, and Aaron Donald still just ridiculous. Jalen Ramsey, a top 2, top 3 corner. Bobby Wagner, still a top 3 middle linebacker. Could be one on a lot of people's lists. So that defense is stacked with superstars. It's going to be really tough for offenses to do anything about it. But my final analysis for them is that they're a Super Bowl contender again. I think they'll have 1 win less than last year, but it's not like a whole drop off. But I think that they'll have 1 win less because they're playing from the AFC. They're playing the AFC West, so they have to deal with the Broncos, the Raiders, the Chiefs. And I mean, that's the best division in football. The Chargers. It's a ridiculous division. So I think it's going to be really tough to kind of win the same or even more games than last year if you're playing that division. Did I say the Chiefs even? I mean, they're too. So it's just a ridiculous division, which I'm really excited to get to that division in a couple weeks. That'll be a lot of fun. But no, the Rams are stacked on both sides of the ball, and they'll probably win the NFC West again. I'll have to look at the Cardinals schedule. That'll be next week as well when Zach, Colin, and I are all back together. I'm going to do our next episode Saturday. I'm going to do the 49ers then. So, but no, the Rams are tremendous. I hate to say it, but definitely Super Bowl contenders again. But I think that's all I have today for episode 29. Top 10 DH will be, or episode 28, my bad. Episode 29. Holy cow. Can't even talk right now. Episode 29, we'll have the top 10 DH. I'll do that list of that. Stanley Cup Game 1 reaction. I'll have that as well. Is the NBA season over, or will there be a Game 7? And then I'll be predicting and analyzing the San Francisco 49ers. That episode will be probably filmed Saturday morning, and I'll come out with it Saturday afternoon, Saturday early evening. But yeah, thanks guys for listening. I know it's a little different with just me, but I really appreciate all the support. I guess a small little update on our social media. We're now over 100 followers on Instagram, which is tremendous. We're at like 115 on TikTok with over 3,000 likes. So please keep running those pages up. And our YouTube we're only 33 subscribers away from our giveaway. So please go subscribe to be part of the giveaway. This is a lot of fun. I look forward to Saturday talking about even more news that's happened. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks, guys.